Greetings and welcome back to Smartwatch Tics. We're going to follow up with a part 2 now on a video that we launched a little while ago where we talked about using smartwatches for voice to text conversion, which you can see going on right here. Now, the really cool thing about that video and this follow-up is that the watches we're going to be demonstrating on can do everything you're about to see offline, meaning you don't have to have the watch connected to the internet, either through Wi-Fi or through a cellular connection. You can simply speak into your watch, it will capture what you're saying, convert it to text, and you can save it. Nice, huh? Well, we invite you for sure to look at the first part of this because we talked extensively about a special note app that you can use to drop your text into, which allows you to send your text off easily via email or to Google Drive or to Dropbox whenever you're connected to the internet. We also previewed a special type of a keyboard that has a microphone button on it that makes it easy to use the voice input on these watches. Today we're going to expand on that and show you additional note-taking type of apps like the one running here, and a whole variety of different keyboards that you could choose amongst, all of which have limitations and problems, but depending on your desires, you might choose one over another. Before we begin, shout out to our watch face designers. You're taking a look here at a new watch face from a new developer, a young man who just turned 13 in Nepal. We're going to see a lot more from him as he starts to create and learn how to design watch faces. And of course, we're looking at another one of these large digital displays from Alrod, who's got his own entire website up and is constantly pumping out all different kinds of watch faces. We'll have links to Alrod. We don't have links yet here, but I just wanted to show off a brand new face. We're just so excited to see new developers coming along. Also, I want to mention that we have kind of a different class represented by each of these watches. This, the LEM5 from Lemfo. This watch represents the style of watches that you're familiar with if you know about Finout and Number One and some of the Lemfo watches. It's an Android 5.1 watch, of course, with 1 gigabyte of RAM in it because you need 1 gigabyte minimum in order for this voice recognition process to work. So we have 1 gigabyte in here and the LEM5, similar to the D5 Plus, similar to the X5 Plus, the X3 Plus. All of the Plus series add-ons was a bump up in the memory to 1 gigabyte and 8 gigabytes. And so you need the Plus version. But what you see here in a round format with all of this text recognition stuff will work in this watch and all of those others. This one, the i4 Plus, another kind of a Plus upgrade, represents the class of watches that run on the Kingwear style of Android 5.1, like the original Kingwear KW88. However, the 88 didn't have 1 gigabyte of RAM in it, so you have to look at the type of watches that are coming out, like the DM368, this i4 Plus, that have at least 1 gigabyte of RAM, and some of them have a total memory of up to 16 gigabytes, like Thor, some of the others. All that said, they will all work for voice recognition, as you're about to see, and they'll do it all offline as well. Okay, and then the last one, we get into what really, really works well in a smartwatch when you're working with text, and of course, that's the Square Watch. Stay. This is the Finout Q1 that we are looking at, and it's just been typing along, happy as a lark, with a special program that I'll be showing you toward the end of this video. These square format watches give you a square screen, and you can see everything in the corners, which is really, really important because this app in particular works beautifully on this watch. On these round watches, the corners are all cut off. Even when you put it in a square, it makes it a challenge. So if you really want a really good offline text-to-speech voice recognition working watch, go for a 1 gigabyte minimum RAM Android smartwatch like the Final Q1. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to be covering today. I have that all brought up here on a phone. We're going to show you an app called Quick Keyboard Switch. So if you're going to use a variety of keyboards to test these things out, download and install that one. We're going to explore the Google keyboard, the original Google keyboard. I have an old copy of that I sideload and installed to try. And when you update it or you install it fresh, you get the Gboard now, which is the Google keyboard. Runs on some of these, doesn't run on others, but it's one to try. There's also an Android keyboard, which kind of comes stock on some of them, and I've been able to pull that off and put it on some of the other ones, and it works okay too on some of them, but not all of them. The Google handwriting input interfaces together with Gboard to make a set, and you can actually write your letters if you want to with Google handwriting input, or type them with the Gboard, and both of them support tapping the microphone to get into the Google Voice input process. Then we have a keyboard called Message Ease, which looks really neat. It's kind of fun. It's big buttons to work on a watch, but it had a drawback in that the voice recognition is not Google, and it currently does not work on these watches. In fact, it's not even working on the phone. So I'm thinking it might be shut down. But I wanted to show it to you because I've talked a lot about it in other videos. The minimum keyboard is another interesting layout that incorporates ability to use a microphone. Then there's TouchPal. And there's a few different flavors of that. I'll have one in here to show you that uses a microphone capability as well. There's thousands of keyboards. The ones I've honed down are ones that kind of work on a watch and support voice input. Then there's the one that we demoed in the last video, the JBack 2. And that keyboard you'll see will work well on these round ones. I'm going to show it to you on the square one and talk about some limitations and issues that keyboard has and some fixes that they've come up with to make them work even better on the round watches. That's going to be a long video, huh? And then there's the app that we use called Squarespace Note. That I use as the platform to take these notes or capture the text so that you can actually see it on the screen. And that one we covered extensively in part 1 of this video. Now, as an added bonus, I'm going to talk about a different keyboard input called the Speech Keys Smart Voice Typing, which is the forerunner to what you're seeing running here, which is called Speech Notes. And I guess you figured out by now that this is pretty awesome. It's just streaming along. Of course, there's no punctuation in it right now because I'm speaking English and talking to you. However, comma, if I wanted to incorporate punctuation, exclamation mark, I could do that, period. And then the next sentence would start with the proper capitalization, period. And it would just go on like it's supposed to, comma, in text, comma, written text, comma, that I could then copy and paste or send to somewhere else. That's all done right now in Speech Notes. Works really great here. I wish it would work better here, but it doesn't. Look at that. I got low battery already. Okay. I got a feeling that this eats a lot of battery when we're using it. So I'm going to take a break now to make sure these guys are all fully charged up, and we will come back and start in on this overview of different keyboards and how they work for offline or online speech-to-text recognition. Period. Okay, let's begin. The first thing I want to do is call your attention to this keyboard. It's called the Flit keyboard. Not because it fits with this video, but because it doesn't. You see, it doesn't actually have a voice input. It doesn't have a microphone. When you bring it up, it looks like this on the screen, and the way you use it is you tap on a letter, on the white letter in the middle is what will actually show up on the screen, or you slide to any of the corners, like F-A-T would say fat. Or I could say, see how I can move this around there and change the letters, F-A-T-I, fatty. But there's no way for doing a microphone on it. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you're inclined and you're interested in this keyboard, like me, to contact the developer and ask them to easily put a voice microphone on this keyboard so we can use it on a watch. One easy way would be to allow the space bar a press and hold to open the microphone, and a single quick press would be a space bar. Right now, press and hold doesn't do anything. It's not making multiple spaces. So that would be easy. Or they could do a slide down, would open the microphone. Slide up takes you back to the very beginning. Slide down doesn't do anything. It doesn't take you to the end. So a press and hold or a press and slide down to activate microphone would be great. What does it look like on a watch? Let's check it out. I've got it on this one already set up, and on a round watch, its implementation is really, really small. But it can actually show you a lot of space on the document that you're working on. It is cut off on the corners on a round watch. Notice the A and Z, you can still get to it, but it's really close. Same thing over here. And the return key is not there at all. The delete key is available. And this one that lets you compact it and put it away is completely off the screen on round watches. So it's not really a comfortable keyboard for use on a round watch, but it works great on a square watch. Again, it would be really handy if you could just press and hold on the space bar and get the microphone to come up. That's all I want to say about this one. All the rest of them now do work with the microphone. Now on our Android KW88 i4 class watches, when you bring up the ability to switch keyboards, and if I go in here and I switch it to the Android keyboard, which I side installed because I have the APK from other watches, and then if I go into my notes program, I find that the keyboard won't come up. I get nothing. The keyboard's not active. So the Android keyboard that's stock on some of these other watches, like the Finau class and number 1 class watches, won't work on the KW88 class, I'm going to call them, watches. However, on a LIM 5, which is the same as the number 1 a D5 Plus, and I've given you the list already, I can hit here, I can change the keyboard to English Android, and then I can go into the notes program, which happens to be way up here on this one, and I get a really nice keyboard. You see this one? Not only does it have a microphone here in the upper right, and now when I'm talking, it's capturing what I'm saying in large font, in white on black, looking really good, period. I can stop that. I can close that. That's right near where my, whoops, it didn't stop it. It's right near where I have my slider for my brightness. And that can be moved anywhere. Let's see if I can make the keyboard go away that way. Okay, there, and you can see what I've typed so far. Now, I brought the keyboard back up, and look, there's a microphone right here as well. So you get, it's implemented in a couple of places, and if I touch it there, I'm back into the microphone. That's a backspace key, and that's the X key to get me back to the actual keyboard. So this is a really good keyboard, and this is the one I would recommend right off of the bat to use on any of the Finau type of watches. And yes, in the offline mode, when you're not connected to the internet, this one works great. You have the 1, 2, 3, you have the symbols, and they're good size, easy to see, easy to use. So Android keyboard, if you're buying a 1 GB smartwatch that's uses the form of Android 5.1 that you find in Now and #1 watches. Now, look at this one. This is the actual Google keyboard, not the Android keyboard. And it has a microphone as well. But whoa, it's like way up here somewhere. That's now the Shift key. That's the backspace key. It's just not that user-friendly. Now I'm getting these letters and words and things. I'm not even seeing the microphone here. Down here, I can switch. Wow, I switched to a completely different keyboard with that maneuver, which is not what I wanted to do. So on the Google keyboard or Gboard, it doesn't really work well on the Now class, Now D1 class of watches. What's it look like actually here on the Google keyboard right here? Looks like this. There, now you can kind of see what I was groping for was the microphone right up in this side. There's a Google button on that side. You don't even see those actually on this watch when you bring it up. Well, I can't bring it up now because it switched to a different keyboard we're going to talk about. But anyway, you can see when it's cut off. And usually the higher it is, you can usually see everything. But for some reason, it's even cut off all the way up to there for the Google keyboard. On the other style, let's see. Are we there? Are we set there? Let's see where we are. No, we're still playing with that Android keyboard because it's not functional on here at all. Let's switch to from Android and past Flit to the English US Gboard and bring up our note. Oops, okay, there you go. Now you can see what I'm looking for. There's the microphone, there's the Google thing there. When you press it, now I bring up a separate window for voice input, which is smaller, lets you see the whole screen. It's all underlined while I'm talking, and if I stop, it should actually register that, period. There, you see it changed? And now this is what I'm inputting is underlined. And that's kind of a characteristic of the Google Voice. So anytime we get this thing up, then we are in Google Voice, and I don't have to repeat doing all of this because it's going to be exactly the same. Just know that if we see this flash on the screen, everything else will be identical for text input because now we're in the Google thing. I can stop it before it's even done, you notice? And then I can put it away, come back into the keyboard again. So that's the actual Gboard or Google keyboard. Works adequately on the i4, the LEM5, or the LES. Anyway, some of the Limfos. Yeah, all of these non-Now #1 watches, it works well. I wouldn't recommend it over here on this one. Okay, let's move on. We're going to change from the Google keyboard now to another Google thing. It's the Google handwriting input, and it's kind of integrated together with this one. I switch here, I bring up my note, and now I've got a keyboard that looks totally different. It has the voice input, and I get my typical window for Google Voice typing. We've all seen that now. And if I go back out of here, I come back into the handwriting. And I've got capability now to just simply say, hi, space there. Hi there, in all caps. Yeah. And it works pretty well on a watch. Here it is, floating on the i4, and this is where we were before, so I can space over there a couple of spaces, and I can, I don't know what, Smartwatch, S-M-A-R-T, some of it are caps, some of it are smalls, W, if I use a letter like that, A-T-C-H, Smartwatch. I would need to practice, obviously. It's not coming through very well, but it does work. I'm not seeing the microphone button off of the edge here, though, which is unfortunate. Let's come back into it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Might just be the way it rendered itself when it loaded up. Also, everything I'm showing you, there's two different implementations. This is the implementation with the third-party app in a square, and if I press and hold, I can change it back to full screen and then get the keyboard up on that. But of course, you're missing what you're typing off of the edges of the display. So I keep it running in this mode just for that purpose. But you can switch to all of them. Whoops. I did a camera thing. There we go. Okay. And pressing the microphone brings up the dialog box that lets me do the voice input just like we had before. And that puts it away, brings us back to this keyboard. On this one, you can see in the lower left-hand corner, I've got the globe. If I press and hold it, it brings me into all of my configurations for that. Well, on the watches, sometimes it brings you into the actual original keyboard. Yeah. And if I press it once, it takes me to the next keyboard in the keyboards that I've got loaded, which this one happens to have a globe. If I press and hold this one, this is the one I'm confusing it with. This lets me go back. So you can actually put a variety of keyboards in a certain order and have capability to do stuff. If I wanted to get back to the G-board keyboard, I'm there. Did that switch me? Yeah. Okay, and if I press it once, there we go. Now it's gone to this keyboard, and I don't have a globe to take me back out of that one. It gets confusing after a while. Okay, we've covered Gboard. We've covered the handwriting recognition. It's similar on this one. Oh, I've already moved us to the next keyboard on this one. Let's move ahead. That one is called the Message Ease keyboard. Now, this is a fun keyboard. It's similar to that Flit keyboard, only a little easier to use because it's one big square with a lot of little squares that you move in different directions. Get us to a new line, and I can say ANIHORTES, which it types out. But if I slide in any of these directions, it will type the letter that you see. From the H, if I want a K, I go to the right. But if I wanted the letter C, I would go this way. The microphone for this you get to by going like that. And there it is. And it's living glory, except it doesn't work, which is so sad. If this worked, and it did really a nice job when it used to work, but it's not the Google keyboard, the Google Voice, so it's useless as far as text input, a voice input goes. Same thing when you're looking at it on the little watch format. You can actually pretty quickly type out what you want. I find this a nice keyboard if you're going to be putting in passwords and things. But if I try to slide down and get into the voice input, it's also dead here. So I think this is a legacy keyboard and it's not functional, but I wanted to include it for those of you who want to mess around with it. You're just not going to be able to get voice input. Let's switch over to the minimum keyboard, which looks like this in its full capacity. And when you shrink it, sloppy typing. Oh, cool. We got sloppy typing on here. There. When you shrink it down, it turns into a keyboard that looks like this. where these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 buttons with 3 letters per button, and it's interpretive typing that as you work your way across here, T, H, I, S, this is fun. And it knows. It knows what to do, and it changes it for you. Okay, the microphone is where the comma is. You press and hold and slide over 2 times, and now we're back into Google typing. And we can exit out of that and back into the keyboard. And we can somehow make it go up. Oh. A lot of these I have to fuss with to figure them out myself. How did we do that? All the way up? Well, you saw it up. It's down now. A little bit more study and I could figure that one out. But what does it look like on a watch? Here it is. Here's the watch implementation. The QAZ is completely off, just a little bit showing, and same on the right-hand side. Unfortunately, it cuts off these letters, but you can kind of get to them, and you can type words. What you don't have is the return key. You need that, of course. And you do have access to the voice if you're really careful. Hitting there, see it? Coming over, hitting the voice. And now I'm back into the Google Voice. So you've got that keyboard. Here it is how it looks in the large size on this style of watch. And if I get it down again, yeah, I don't know how to make it big again, but I got it small. And again, we're cut off on the sides. And this one, you can't even get to the microphone. So an interesting keyboard, minimum, serves a purpose, but it doesn't lay out well on the round watches at all. Obviously, on a square watch, it would work, and we're going to do the square one all by itself when we finished all of these, so you can see how nice having a square watch matches up with having a phone. All right, next one. A lot of people rave about this thing called TouchPal, so I've tossed it in here to show you that it's a nice keyboard. It's good size, it scales well. The keys on the side, like the backup, or the backspace key, hard to get to, and the return key is basically non-existent, as you can see right to the right of here. I can't get here for a return. That's one of the glaring problems with these. The return key is often in the far right-hand corner, and you just can't get to it. And another issue is the voice recognition. When you're on the watch, you press and hold to get the microphone, and it just sits there saying initializing, and it never locks in. So although you theoretically could do voice input, you can't. When you do it on the phone, though, it switches to the Google version of the voice recognition. So I'm not sure why it's not working that way on the watch itself, because it's working fine on the phone. And that might just be a little oversight, but here it is on this one too, and you can see the same kind of limitations in the use of the keyboard. So those of you who are TouchPal fans, give us some guidance down in the show notes below on how to make this keyboard operational, both for voice and for having the return key on the side for use on a round watch format. We have done TouchPal. And we have these two to go. Speech keys, voice typing. Let's take a look at that. There. That's the one that the Google keyboard really loved and kept switching over to on us. Remember from before? You have the ability to have a keyboard that's got numbers and symbols. Let me get you a new line down here. And you can actually add little short things on here. What's up? How are you? You know, you can define these for yourself on this keyboard, which is nice for quick shortcuts. If you want to quickly text somebody, I'm driving, can't talk now or something, you could probably set something like that up in this keyboard. But will it work on a watch? Well, let's see. The microphone's right here, and when we press it, we bring up a completely different type of listening environment, which is interesting. This is not coming to our standard Google window, which, when you stop talking, it immediately turns itself off and you got to touch it again. With this one, when you stop talking, gosh, it's so hard to stop talking, but just for you, I'm going to stop talking right now. I'm still not talking, and it's still recording. That's right. If you want something to do dictation with, even if you can't use the whole keyboard, which you're going to see in the watch in a minute, if you can get to the microphone on this particular keyboard in the app of your choice, you got a gold mine here in something that will give you voice recognition. Will it work offline? We'll test that in a minute. Anyway, when you look at it on a watch, here's the keyboard, and you see it's cut off a bit on the edges, as we kind of would expect. So you don't have use of everything. Here you are in the full lettering, and again, we don't have the return key or the backspace key, but we have one robust voice recognition system. Now, it's clanking away on both of these, and again, it's not the standard Google. See, it's not turning off. It's continuing to go. And I think it can go for, I don't know, a while. I've never been quiet enough to test it until it stopped. But it's certainly longer than what you get with Google. So you got the capabilities if you can get to the microphone. And I say if you can get to the microphone because on this one I've got it reduced. And when you reduce it, how do you reduce it? You hit that little down arrow there. Now, you see it reduced here? And I got this arrow to make it big and to make it small, but it's reduced, and I don't have anything past right here, that exclamation mark. So I can't get over here to make it big, and I certainly can't get to that corner there. And the microphone's in the upper right-hand corner. Oh, I was able to get it. Okay, it's starting to go now. It's off the screen, but I've got it in this, in a sense, permanent small mode here that's reduced, which I can't do on this one because the keyboard is just too big on the Final class watch, but I could at least one time get it there. And every time I bring it up, it's kind of stuck in the small mode. But if all I want is something for voice input that's going to continue to do it and not stop on me, if I want to capture verbatim the text of a discussion with somebody, a transcript, if you will, without proper punctuation, of course, this can do it for you. So it's not a great keyboard for all purposes, but it's pretty darn adequate for doing this fancy voice recognition if you can just hit the microphone, and I did. So on the IQI and Kingwear style of watch, you can barely touch it when it's reduced. On the Final, you can't even get to that, but you can load it up as the full keyboard, and then you can get to it pretty easy right there and turn it on and off. And yes, if I went and uninstalled and reinstalled this, it will default to this. That's all I can figure out, or somehow get it to go back to a big keyboard, and it would look like this on here, and you would be able to get to the microphone. So 3 different implementations here, how you got it on a phone, how you've got it on these 2 style of watches. But before we leave this keyboard, let's see if it will work totally offline. Let's get us out of Wi-Fi. No cellular data either, as you can see. No SIM card in here. And how do we get back here? Okay, check our keyboard. We're on the speech keys voice typing, which is the one we want. And we get into our Notes app. There we are. Okay, you stay there. Let's get you over there. And we are confirming our keyboard again. I'm doing this because I was away for a while. I want to make sure we're operating with the right keyboard here. Now we're going to come back up into our Notes app on this one and pick up where we were. Okay, this is the full keyboard. This is the one that's been reduced, and we want to see if it works offline voice recognition. If I can tap the microphone. Hello there, are you there? It seems to be working just fine. We are in Google Voice then, and it's doing it through voice recognition directly in through the keyboard and right into the Notes app, with the difference in that it's not going to stop when I stop speaking. I'll leave it here and be quiet while I bring this one up. There. Now this one's listening too. And you see they're both still typing and working fine. So other than the limitations we have on the edges of the keyboard and not being able to get to things, or the inability to make this one big or small, this keyboard works. At least it really works well for voice recognition, especially if you want to stream on your random thoughts of consciousness, your poetry, your rap songs, whatever you're trying to capture, and not have Google stop it when you take a breath like it does on the other voice input type screens. All right, that is this one. We have one more keyboard. Let's jump over there. Our final keyboard is TalkType that we're going to look at in this grouping. And I imagine there's some more out there. So if you guys know of any really cool keyboards that have microphone input, especially if they work offline and use the Google voice recognition or whatever they use works offline, please let us know in the comments down below. I'll definitely check it out on phone and round and square watches, and we'll see where we go from there. We might do a part 3, who knows? Anyway, here's what the keyboard looks like, and as you can see, it's got a microphone button, and when you tap the microphone button, it starts capturing what you're saying, and you have the ability to hit ABC and come right back up to the keyboard again. You have the number keys and symbol keys over here. You have emoticons. All that stuff works great on a phone and probably works well on a square watch as well. But on a round watch, in the white theme or the dark theme, you can see that a lot of that's been cut off on the sides. And that's really unfortunate because it would be pretty cool if you had access to the edges. And well, not only that, I want to tell you that the voice that you have here to capture the voice for both of these watches, I tried in the offline mode and it does not work. So whatever voice system these guys are using, it's either not the Google, or if it is Google, it's implemented in a way that doesn't interface across to the offline database. So I'm not going to talk much about this one as far as an offline speech-to-text converter, but it does a nice job of converting text when you are on Wi-Fi. All right. Finally, let's switch our attention to the square watch, the Finau Q1. And before we begin, I want to bring us right back to the round-designed keyboard, the JBA-K2 that we talked about in both videos now. This one, as you can see, has been contoured so it fits nicely on the round watch. And we have looked at that and been able to use it by pressing and holding the bottom key right here to get the microphone. But it had a couple of drawbacks. For example, if you switch keyboard layouts, this is the alpha, the text, the letters, switch it to the numbers, you get the numbers over here, you get symbols and guidance, navigations and things. You get a whole bunch of stuff, and it's great on this square keyboard. However, it doesn't work well at all on the round keyboard. So just to let you know, Paul has gone back and remade these other ones. There's like 4 different keyboard layouts as part of this whole package, of which the alpha one, the key to switch it, is here, which is way off the screen on the round keyboard. So if you accidentally get out of this mode by tapping the 1, 2, 3, you can't get back on the round watch unless you install these alternative package keyboards, and it's a tricky thing to do. So check the show notes. I'll have a link for you to jump over and explore all of that. And I'm not going to be your assist person on this one. It's complicated for me for right now as well, but I will try to point you in the right direction if you want to use this keyboard fully, not just for the voice input, but to be able to use all of the other functions as well by switching to other keyboard layouts in this same design. This is the only one that shows up in the default package when you download it from the Google Play Store that is contoured to fit on the round screen, and it does a nice job, except for that middle bar jumping around when you scale the zoom. We covered that in the last video. Okay, so that's the keyboard layout as it looks like on the phone, just to show you in large size, and this is what it's giving you when we just scaled it up. Let's switch keyboards. We are going to take a look at all the different ones we've got here on the watch format in the Square Watch. We can go in here and pick us up from the Android keyboard. Will this work? A stock Android keyboard looks like this. Works beautiful on the Q1 or comparable Square watches. This is a test of the voice, and it's working fine with the Google implementation of voice recognition. Oh, except it stopped real quick. Look at that. Are you still there? Question mark. I'm still here. Oh, really fast. Oh, well, that's how it's working right now. You know what? Let's check and see if we're online, because we want to go offline for this. Settings are right here. And we want to go offline. So we're going to go to our Connect. I could do it through, the other ways of doing it, but we'll just go through and turn Wi-Fi off. Now we're definitely off. We'll go back into Note. We pick up the microphone. And now we're going to continue in the offline mode. And everything's working just fine, period. And everything is working just fine, period. All right, thank you. Really fast on the disconnect there. Don't like that. Let's switch keyboards. That was the Android. The Flit keyboard we talked about that doesn't have the microphone, remember? And you guys, please contact the developer. They often respond when there's a lot of people that bring things to their attention, like more than just me. We want something like press and hold the space bar that would bring up the microphone so we can use this keyboard. Look at how it lays out nicely and puts all the stuff in a square up here. If you learn this keyboard, you can operate it really fast. It's just missing a microphone. Okay. Next keyboard. See how nice this little program is for changing? Is the English Google handwriting, but I'm going to skip to the English Google keyboard right here. And we'll look at that one. Whoa. No. Don't want to change watch faces yet. Okay. This is the Google keyboard. It's a bigger keyboard, and it scrunches a lot of the stuff out of the screen. You have the microphone up there. And the other one, we had a microphone over here on the left, but I'm not seeing it showing up here. You have that little globe thing, and if I press and hold, this brings up the selections for other things. Here's Google Voice Typing, and I could get into Google Voice Typing directly from the keyboard this way. If I hit the X, it takes me back to the Google keyboard. So you have the microphone there, but you also have a way of messing around with getting into it from here. You can also press and hold, and now go into the handwriting input. And there's the handwriting input. Hi, whoa, W, H, A, T. What? If you're a fan of this, you've got the capability there. I don't see the microphone showing up on the handwriting keyboard directly. However, we should be able to press and hold. No, again, that brings up the settings. See, a nice implementation would be consistency, where that would bring you over to the, now we're getting the microphone, would bring you back to where we could go to the Google keyboard. If I swipe out of this, that doesn't do it. That doesn't do it. And now, as I see, the microphone gets pushed off when it starts to make predictions. And then it comes back on afterwards. Okay, now we've got the voice recognition system working. And if I scroll up, I should be able to get down here and continue it from that point on. That's all working. But when I say done, I come back, it's going to the handwriting keyboard, and I don't have an easy way to get back to the typing keyboard. But if you like text entry, you have microphone, you have Google Voice, it's offline, and you have everything you need for right there. So let's change keyboards again. Now we covered the handwriting keyboard, the Google keyboard. Here's message ease. And this one, remember, we had this nice keyboard that shows up like this, that you can put in letters by swiping. You either hit the letter or you swipe in the direction of the one that you want. And it had its own voice entry by going like that. However, it wouldn't lock up. It just kind of gets hung right there. And it's consistent in that it's not working. So this watch keyboard across the board may be offline. We haven't been able to get voice input, even though it supports the microphone. But keep trying. It's a kind of a fun layout if you like this kind of stuff. Oh, also, you can make this smaller and have more space to see what you need, or you can make it bigger if you want to see more of those tiny letters to learn where they are, just simply by moving up and down from that finger. Another keyboard that we have played with on the other one was the minimum keyboard. And on a square watch, where we don't have to deal with the corners being cut out, look at that. It's all there. And you have a whole lot of space to see what you're doing. And again, you just type the letters out for the word that you want, and it intuitively learns what you want, or you can just pick it right from the keyboard. And the voice input is press and hold and slide over. It says voice recognition currently unavailable. So this is not supporting offline voice recognition. That's interesting. That's good to know. It does work in when you are on Wi-Fi. So this keyboard, yeah, not for offline voice. Next one. The Pinyin Me is the standard one that it comes with. So we'll skip that one. And then we have this Touch Pal. It's been updated a lot. This is Touch Pal X English US that I have been using for a variety of different reasons, why I don't remember. But you could download the latest one from the Google Play Store if you want to. It's a nice looking layout for a keyboard, but we had problems before on trying to press and hold to get the voice, and it says network not available, and it's not working offline. And even when it was online, it wasn't working on the other platforms and the watches, but it would work on the phone by bringing up Google Voice. But as you can see here, it's not bringing up the Google Voice offline mode. So as far as this video that's talking about offline keyboards with voice recognition, that one doesn't do it. So I won't go much further into that. We showed you that one. That was the JBack 2. And that brings us to these two left, like before. the speech keys keyboard is here. Now, this is where we have some fun. Now we see the whole thing here. So this is the small version of it. If I touch that little arrow button, oops, not that one. This takes us back to choose our keyboards. The one beside it brings it up full. There's ABC. You have just a tiny bit to see what your keyboard looks like, but you have full use of the whole keyboard, all of the functions left and right, including the return key and the microphone. And again, this microphone is tied offline now to the Google Voice Recognition system built in. So I can talk and talk all I want to. And this is not one that's going to cut me off like the stock one we just looked at before. I'm going to try to be quiet. I learned being quiet means I can still make noise and not be challenged by silence. But just to show you that it's not shutting itself off, it's going, it's still going. To turn it off, I just touch it. Nice! This is my keyboard of choice at this point on a rectangular or square watch for sure, and so easy to switch to a different keyboard if I want to, right here, which I'm going to talk type right now, which is this one. And it says you can't connect to the server. Try again. Tap to speak. Can't do it. So the voice recognition system it's using is not looped into the Google Voice, so I can't run this keyboard offline. So for the Square Watch, my recommendation is that one we just had on. I don't see a way to get back to it here either. We still had that with the GIF and all those other things, but you got to be online for all of that. So one more time. There's our keyboard of choice. Oh, okay, I know that was too fast. What's the name? You want to write it down, right? Speech Keys Voice Typing. Choose that one. Be online, offline, whichever you want. And reduce the size if you want to see a lot and just do voice input alone. And you've really got it made. And you can just capture your thoughts as they come, with or without punctuation. You want punctuation? You want punctuation? Just hit it right there. And it's supposed to add it to it. Hello? Okay. And the period's over here. And a comma is here. Okay. I guess timing is everything, but you have the chance to play with it. You can go into settings, you can do all sorts of stuff, and again we can expand that up, have the ABC or the numbers or whatever you like. That's a keyboard that you can use on anything that is asking for keyboard input that lets you now migrate to voice input on or offline. We still have this program here, Speech Notes. Speech Notes now is like what we just did, only it's a self-contained notes program. Let's delete that note. And yes, delete. Well, it's not deleting. Okay, I turned on the microphone. Maybe it did now. And it's recording what I'm saying, and it's vibrating. And this is what you saw at the very beginning of this video that was just going on and on and on, and captured everything I said without punctuation, although I could have added punctuation if I was hitting the keys like we've mentioned before. This is the same layout we saw in the standalone keyboard, but it's integrated with their own note program. I can press there and bring up function keys that can do all sorts of stuff, and the numeric keypad. But I don't know how to get back out of this. Oh, look at that. There's a side window even. Wow. Wow. Okay. Anyway, this is a very robust note program, obviously, that allows us to use a whole bunch of different ticks and tricks, and it's even got an arrow button that you can send this thing out back to the note program. And now I'm back in the note program with the keyboard that I had before and all the things that I just typed in the note program. Very, very sweet. All right, and that's how everything works on the FiNow Q1 and other Square Android smartwatches. So what does the app speech note look like on these round watches? Let's bring it up and see. Here you go. We've got, let's start with this one. You've got a little area here, and if I press the microphone and I start talking, you can see that the voice pattern is showing up, and you can see the words are going into the space, but it's not very readable. Only half of the line is readable, and it's not scrolling. So on the i4 Kingware kind of implementation or watch platform, the particular app is not as robust as we would expect, and definitely not like what we've seen on the Square Watch. But you do still have all these abilities to send it off somewhere and do whatever you want with it, and you can capture it as long as you'd like to speak. So the voice recognition is working very similar, and it does work offline. It's just a matter of not being able to see what's going on. However, all I need to do is stop it, send it to the note program, and there's everything I was just saying in the note program. I can slide it and send it, and now it's off to my Dropbox or to my email account or to my Google Drive or wherever I want it to go. So it is feasible to use the Speech Note app on the i4 platform, but it's limited in what you can actually see while you're doing it. As you can tell over here, we run into an even worse situation. I'm talking right now, and that little white line is where all the information is showing up. It's just not visible at all. So if you wanted to annotate it, edit it, and especially use some of the punctuation along with it, you don't have the same feasibility of doing that in context. And again, though, you can stop it, you can send it. You can send it to any of these things, but you can send it to Note. Now we are in the Note program, and it's bringing up the keyboard that was selected already, the last one we were using. And you could say done, and you can read it right there, and you could send it off same way, and boom, it's gone. So you have some flexibility in being able to use this program. You have that never-ending microphone, but it's not nearly as well implemented on the round watches as it is on the Square. Oh, one last thing for those of you who've hung in this long. You know the Speech Notes little app? Well, I paid for the premium version, and it made all the difference in the world. $5.99 for life, or 7 days. Upgrade, and it automatically sees that I've paid for it, and check it out. All of the ads are gone, and now I have a whole lot more capability to see what I'm doing. I can come in here. Greetings, and welcome back, everybody. This is what it looks like inside the app on both watch platforms. Remember the IQI i4 type and all the other watches similar, that the font is smaller than it is on the FiNow and number 1 implementation of these watches, but the app in the Square works great. And remember, you have the ability at any time to send your note onto something else like the actual notes program, like this. Watch carefully, period. I'm stopping this. If I can get it, there we go. I'm hitting the arrow. Oh, I hit a rename. Well, I don't want to rename it, but I could, I guess. Arrow key for send. Arrow key for send. I'm sending it to Note, the standard Note program, where it's going to go to the default keyboard that I've chosen, where I can say done and release to send, and now everything I typed over there has just been sent off, as we know, to wherever I've set it up. This one a little trickier. I got to get rid of that keyboard. There we go, and now press to send, and it's gone. So, hey, it's worth paying the upgrade if you really plan on using this this program or this app because it works great. All right. So let's summarize what we've seen here. We've got a few different options for implementing ways of capturing text with keyboard that integrates with a microphone that allows you to go into a voice recognition system that can be done offline as long as you're on watches that have at least 1 gigabyte of RAM in them. In the LEM5, which is also the same as the FiNow X5, for example, or X5 Plus, X3 Plus, Q1 Plus, and the number 1 D5 Plus, all of those kind of watches are able to run the Android keyboard. And of all the keyboards available, the Android keyboard on this platform definitely works the best. It's made for round. The implementation of the microphone is easy to get to in a couple of different places, and it really works well because it uses the Google voice recognition system and the offline voice associated with that. When you come back to the keyboard, if you don't have your little brightness display in the way, I'm going to definitely have to move that. You can pick up where you left off using just the text. And you have word recognition as well. So, recommendation, go with the Android keyboard, the standard Android keyboard in this type of a watch. Unfortunately, this keyboard doesn't play on the IQi i4 Plus, the DM368, and similar type of watches. Neither does the Google. Well, the Google keyboard will play, but it doesn't give you easy access to things. They're off the screen. So until things change, the best keyboard going is that JBA K2 keyboard with a layout that looks like this, but that little row of keys that's normally up at the top ends up floating over the front. So what you have to do is put that keyboard in, but switch it to the full screen layout, and that puts those keys up there, and now you can still reach everything comfortably. And if you press and hold the button at the bottom, you can implement that exact same Google voice recognition system for online or offline recognition. Just remember that your font size is going to be a lot smaller on this watch, and it's going to be black writing against white, whereas over here we have a much better and larger display of information, albeit in this layout, it's going to be kind of small right there, but you know, as how many of the lines you can see, but you can definitely read it a lot easier. But if eyesight is not a problem of yours and you like to see a lot of words, just remember when you're in this format, most of the words will scroll off the screen. You have to switch back to the smaller square, but the keyboard's going to be kind of out of whack when you're in that mode if you want to type. Don't have a really good total solution for this one. This one, for sure, the Android keyboard. And when you go with the square watch like the Q1, the speech keys voice typing keyboard is phenomenal because it gives you all these capabilities that we've seen here, plus an amazing small layout so that you can reduce the size of the keyboard if you want to. You can speak however long you want, and when you stop, it's going to wait for you, and you can continue speaking. It doesn't shut off automatically. Going to eat a lot more battery because of that, but then again, if you really want to dictate, this is the one to have. And you can increase, like I say, this is where we change keyboards. I always hit that end one, but the smaller one there lets you come up and have a number keyboard, an alpha keyboard, and do a lot of different things, as well as have the voice input capability too. And that, folks, wraps things up for now for a quick look, of a variety of different keyboards that you can put on Android smartwatches, in particular the ones that support text input. And definitely focus on the ones that can do that when you're in the offline mode. If you want to know more about how you set these things up for offline reading or voice recognition, be sure to look at the part 1 of this video because we go into detail on that there. And check out also in the show notes about this keyboard, because on either the round watches or the square watches, this keyboard will work well if you implement the secondary keyboard layout that's been modified to work on the round watches. That's available in the sources where you'll see them in the show notes. You have to install a few extra files in a special place that will override this and instead put it in something that works nice in the curved round thing on a regular round watch. And then you could use that keyboard on any of these, because the offline voice recognition works great on all three of these platforms. You've been watching Smartwatch Ticks. A little bit of a change, give you something technical to go on, some things that you can use on your watch. We will be back with more watch reviews shortly. I've got a couple in right now as we speak. And thanks for your subscription and sharing with your friends. We definitely want to make sure we meet all of your needs as best as possible. And we're heading in that direction. All right. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Are we done yet? I don't think so. What is this? Actual sentences? Correct punctuation? Easy to read? All on a watch? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness! Exclamation mark. You got to download this. Want to know what it is? Okay. Speech Logger Personal. Free. Have fun, gang.